guys, welcome to Clueless Knights.
And I'm back!
Episode 5?
It's episode 5, I've only done 3 of them though.
Well, you were a short one.
Yeah. John, thank you for stepping in for me last time.
For being the Clueless member.
Yeah, he was suitably clueless. I did watch back and he was pretty clueless.
Thanks, John. Alright, so as you can see, we've got Mike back with us for episode 5 from his honeymoon. And
yes, I'm all married now. I have the ring on and everything, and an ever so slight tan. If you compare this video to the previous one, you may notice I am one shade extra brown. It's like I've been dipped in Devlin mud for about 2 seconds.
The problem is, it's so hot in England at the moment, everyone is that shade.
Yeah, I come back and everybody's playing tan.
So where you went is not that special, though.
No, that's it. It is similar temperature actually, but nicer.
Yeah. Actually, I've been really enjoying the heat. He was just telling me off camera now about his holiday. It sounded really good, man.
Yeah, went to Barbados. Highly recommend it. Really good. But yeah, the heat here is lovely, especially since last summer where it was crap.
Yeah. I was actually bitching about that. Last summer it just felt like it was a milder winter.
Yeah. Whereas this summer it's here and you know it's going to be sunny for like another month.
Yeah.
Well, another 2 weeks until you're on holiday. And then
they'll pissing down with rain and snow back again.
So you'll be in a hotel room somewhere playing Scrabble or something. Yeah. Jason will not be playing Scrabble.
Not that intelligent. Alright, so let's not spend too much time chit-chatting.
Yep.
Let's get straight on to some new releases.
Excellent. Should we start off with the big one?
Yeah, go for it.
So, obviously the big one so far this month is the new edition of Age of Sigmar coming out. So, big change from the previous one, although they're selling it as a little change. The rule book is now like 16 pages instead of 4, so that tells me it's got 4 times as much stuff happening. But all looks good. I've enjoyed all the previews so far. They kind of like tried to sell every army and kind of like done you a preview of exactly what's happening with it all. Very similar to what they did with 40k, really. Rehashing, and they seem to be bringing in a lot of the 40k rules. They often borrow from each system for the next iteration of the next system.
What I found quite interesting about this was that, Age of Sigmar is obviously, when they canned fantasy and brought in Age of Sigmar, they went with what works for them.
Yeah.
And 40k, the iconic moment there is Space Marines.
Yep.
Space Marines are the most sold thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
And they needed something to hook for Age of Sigmar, and they went with
Space Marines.
Sigmarines, yeah. But what I find interesting about the first edition was obviously Sigmarines and Khorne, and now the second edition is again Sigmarines and Nighthawns.
Yeah, they're very much following the Space Marine model, though, aren't they?
And they are really hammering that through.
But they must be selling because they're all. Every time a new wave comes out, there'll be a wave of here's some new elves, then there'll be and here's another wave of Sigmarines.
Yeah.
Then there'll be a wave of undead this time, and here's some more Sigmarines, some dwarves and some Sigmarines.
I mean, they got tons
somebody
of
must
shit
be
now.
buying them.
Yeah, well,
and they look cool.
Well, this is the thing, they appeal to the people who like Space Marines.
Yeah.
I'm one of those few minorities.
Yeah, I like Space Marines.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I thought you would like the Sigmarines, because I've never liked Space Marines, and it's not the ideal behind them; it's the thematicness. I think they're very flat, boring.
Yes, you very much look at the miniature, whereas I quite like the fluff, and also I'm very much sold on the game rules as well. I make a big impact when I like stuff.
That's why I'm a big fan of the Imperial Guard, because I like the human side of things.
Yeah, and there's a bit more character you can get into a human model. But I suppose that's part of the deal of, and Sigmarines are similar to Space Marines, aimed at the beginner player. They're easy to paint.
Yeah.
Best one in the world. You spray that bad boy gold, make his sword silver. He's a done model.
It's basically a flat, easy to pose model that
you don't need much blending, much detail work. You can put some in if you want, because obviously the models are really well detailed.
As it happens, these ones, because I don't like the first edition ones at all. But these ones are a little bit better in terms of because they got the robes on. A lot of them have a lot more bare heads now and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's some female ones.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to it. But the Night Stalkers on the hand are amazing.
Nighthawk,
and also I want to put, just going back to the Sigmar stuff, the characters, the mounts that they have for these models
look incredible.
Are amazing. There's a new one, like some sort of griffin type thing and a panther thing. They look amazing.
Yeah,
so
they
good.
look just blown away by those models. And the Nighthawk models.
Oh.
That range really speaks to me. I used to play Undead in Fantasy quite a few years ago now, and I've obviously sold all of those models. But if I was getting into Fantasy, or Age of Sigmar, which I'm not at the moment, I would play them in a heartbeat. They just look fantastic.
But even some of the previous, like did you see the Idenith Deepkin?
Oh yeah, they were brilliant as well. I
Some-
love the Daughters of Cain models.
Yep, they were brilliant.
And
also
they
the
all
Wood
look
Elf
so nice as a range as
Sylvaneth,
well.
that's-
The Sylvaneth, they were my previous favourite
Yeah,
Age of Sigmar army. Just looks so good all lined up together. All the models kind of like the style blends into the others, but they're all taking it in interesting different ways.
what's interesting as well is that they almost reminds me of, I think it was Warhammer 3rd edition or 2nd edition, which they called Hero Hammer.
Yeah.
You know, where you have a few units of troops and then like 3 or 4 massive
Yeah,
heroes.
massive monsters and stuff.
And this kind of it sort of reminds me back to those days as well, because you got some massive centerpieces in every army they bring out. I mean, for the Night Dawnts, you've got the
new Mortarch of Grief
Yeah,
and
the
Nagash,
coach.
I imagine you take. The
Well,
Black Coach looks incredible.
he's from the Legions of Death.
Mm.
But yeah, like it's just massive
Yeah, the
centerpiece.
Deepkin have got the giant turtle and things like that.
The Sylvaneth have got obviously the Treeman, the big Treeman, but they've also got that.
The Beetle Lady.
Yeah,
You can
So-
tell our knowledge is hugely in depth.
There's just too many models to
Yeah.
remember. But no, I think
Alariel, the Ever Queen, or
something
something.
like that. Yeah. But no, they're just bringing out,
Mm.
knocking it out the park with some fantastic
Yeah.
looking models. Aesthetically, they're beautiful,
And just the mould technology as well.
yeah,
Because putting them together, they'll go together seamlessly as well.
Mm.
It's not like previous days where you'll have a really intricate model, but God, it'll be a right pain to stick all the little bits on. Like some of the Forge World intricate models are such a pain in the arse to put together. Like I met a guy who had the big Slaanesh Greater Demon, which has got tiny little spikes all on the back of it, but they're not moulded into the back of the model. You get like a sheet of 1,000 of these little spikes you've got to glue on individually. It's like, no, it looks as complicated, but it's not. It's one big thing that will just glue together in about 2 seconds.
I think if I have to pick a negative out of what they are focusing on, because in Age of Sigmar they seem to be narrowing down the factions. Like for example, in Undead you've got Legions of Nagash, which is obviously skeleton zombies. And then you've got the Nine Taunt, which is an all ghost faction.
Yeah.
And you've got the dwarfs, which you've got the Sky Pirate ones, and then you've got the the old Slayer looking ones.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is just from a painting perspective, it seems like for example, the Nine Taunts, I'm going to use as an example now. Every Nine Taunt army is going to look the same. You know, it's variations of the flaming green or the flaming blue.
They're very much picking an element of the army. Like, take dwarves, for instance, they took the Slayer. The old dwarf army used to be, you had all your armoured warriors, you had all your cannony people, your kind of mechanical people, and then you had your Slayers. They've gone Slayers, and then they produced 10 different models on the Slayer theme.
Yeah.
And it looks really nice altogether in a thematic army, but you're right, they're similar to a Space Marine army.
Yes.
There's not much diversity in that army. Certainly as a painter and a modeler, they're all going to look very similar.
Yeah, I find it difficult to, like, I'm looking at the Nine Taunts, for example, and I'm thinking, oh, they look amazing, I really like the idea of them. But then like, if I brought them onto the table to paint them, my paint scheme is probably going to look very similar to a lot of other people's paint schemes. There's not going to be much individuality to it.
And also on that same point, a lot of the new models, gorgeous as they look, and you've got one unit of, let's take one of the the Skeletal Rider things, you'll make your one unit of 5 of those and it'll look brilliant. But you want another unit of 5, it'll look the same. They're seem to be going away from multi-part posable models to
like
this is a really complex, gorgeous looking model, and they do have some options on them, but they model all look the same. So you have a big unit, you'll have repeats of the same model, whereas I quite like in my Space Marine, I know 2 of my Space Marines are the same model, because you take your Space Marine army and you've got 1,000 different arms from all your different stuff, and I just delve into my bits box and randomly put together a dude.
I think that's probably the biggest negative I have with the current
and I suppose
wave.
that's a side effect of the advanced modelling technology that lets them do such a complicated model. Like, let's just lean forward into camera. Let's just take, for example, this bad boy that Jason's in the middle of painting. You can't put him together. You can't put him together in a different way using the same parts.
No.
Because they're all so detailed.
And I mean, they give you the option of make 2 different ones, so you can obviously, but the bodies are exactly the same, the seats are the same. The only difference is the head.
Yeah.
And
if you tried to make him posable, you'd be like a Space Marine is, which is just a torso with your arms, which are one form of that.
Yeah.
So, which way do you go? It's hard to say which is better. A mix of the two might be better.
The thing I was thinking about was like when I was looking at my Empire, and I know Empire is anomaly because that always worked the same. But if you did undead armies or dwarven armies or elven armies specifically as well.
Mm.
You know, my elven army, I could make very unique looking and
Yeah.
you know, stand out from anyone else's army. It might not be good on the table, you know, because I've picked maybe stuff that were aesthetically better to paint.
Mm.
But when it came down to, you know, when I brought it onto the table, it would look different to anyone else's.
Yeah.
You know, the models could be uniquely posed or different.
There's something about kind of like doing a kit bash of something, which is
Yeah.
like I've got a demon prince that you may have seen in one of my videos or something, which is I've converted out of a hive tyrant and the demon prince kit and some other stuff, and I love putting that model on the table because I know nobody else has that model.
Mm.
It looks completely different. It's big, it's imposing, it's one of my better painted models. I love sticking that down, whereas that model we just showed you, brilliant and gorgeous as a model looks, it doesn't look exactly the same as everybody else's one of those. So it's a big centerpiece, but everybody's big centerpiece looks the same.
Yeah. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it narrows down what hobby options you have.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it's an amazing model, it looks
Mm.
amazing, it's fun to paint, but you're going to have the exact same experience and same look and everything.
Yeah, very much it's the modelling side which is taken away from.
Yeah, it's more maybe more focused on the gameplay now, maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
But at the same time, if they're cranking out an army every month,
And the models do look gorgeous.
Yeah. So there's probably not less to worry about.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's obviously second edition is massively popular.
Yeah, lots of different stuff. I really like what they've done with characters. Characters are now slightly harder to. They seem to have nerfed down shooting a bit. There were two major shooting armies previously. Tzeentch had loads of good shooting units, and the dwarves. And they've kind of like reduced down the shooting with the characters having -1 to hit, and also you can't fire outside of combat.
Yeah, you can only fire at the unit you fight.
Yeah, I really like those two rule changes. And there's loads and loads of other rule changes. They're just two of the ones that I pick out as I've noticed those as being a big improvement.
I quite like the new malign sorcery box set.
Oh
With
yeah,
all the spells and stuff. I quite like that. I remember back in
some of those spells are amazing.
Yeah, some of them are a little like, whoa, that does what?
Yeah. I like the fact that the predatory ones, depending on whose turn it is, they get to pick which ones to move first. I really like that mechanic. So you summon the massive ball of death, but then it becomes my turn and I roll it back onto your unit or something.
Yeah, I think that was a good decision. It influences as well, because one of the things that people obviously bitched about a lot was the double turn.
Yeah.
You know, like you got 2 turns in a row, I'm basically screwed now.
Yeah.
But now it's not that easy for you to take it. You could still take a double turn, but that means I get to use the spells.
Yeah.
And then
I don't like the double turn, but I'm glad they didn't abandon it, because that was one of the things about Age of Sigmar that was different to others. Certainly different to 40k. But they have added a few things in that slightly influence how it works and the choice of whether you want to go for it or not, and the spells is one of them.
Yeah, combat is obviously still alternating as well,
Yeah.
so that works as well. And you got like the command points thing now. Which
Yeah,
is
I
very
like
similar
that.
to 40k.
Yeah, except I think they've done it maybe slightly better, because you get one a turn to use instead of
Starting the game.
Instead of in army construction, you can really game the command point system. And obviously, as the game progresses, they'll probably invent ways of gaining it.
Yeah.
But certainly to start with, it seems maybe a little flatter, but a little fairer in that regard.
That's good. I think Age of Sigmar's kicked off really well, and I'm actually tempted to try and see if I can get some of the boys around here to play some games.
Yeah.
I've been working on my Age of Sigmar army for about a year and 2 months.
Certainly, if you look back on it, it looks a really interesting game now. If you go into a shop and you look at all of the different armies there, you've still got all the original ones, your Bretonnians, your Empire, your Orcs, all of those.
No Britannians.
You can't buy them in a shop, but you can still get them. But they're all very classical armies that you could see in other games, whereas all of the new armies are that's an Age of Sigmar army. They're big, they're spectacular, all the models look really interesting. They're very, very striking visual theme for the armies. It looks like it's a game that certainly a younger player, I think, would really gravitate towards.
The other thing I really like is the round bases. I don't know what about it.
Oh, they're so much more aesthetically pleasing,
yeah,
aren't
it's
they?
just round bases, just really.
Problem with the square bases, that it can be at the wrong angle to the model, and it jars against the model.
Yeah.
Say if your model's pointing his spear in that direction, but the corner of the base is over there, you're like, why isn't that lining up with the corner? It just doesn't look right.
It's just something about the fluidity of it around an oval base as well.
Good word.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Age of Sigmar 2 is obviously done really well, and it's taking the game hobby by storm. I've even seen on the board game chat groups. That people are, who I would call predominantly board gamers, are looking at Age of Sigmar going, oh, I'm actually tempted
So
by this.
easy to play.
Yeah. So yeah, what else you got?
So a quick chat about 40k, as that's usually my main focus. So since I've been on, what armies have we had come out? Had the Deathwatch Codex come out. Interesting. It's not going to be a really top tier tournament army, as it were. I've got a small Deathwatch force. I know you'll be shocked at that. It offers some interesting ways to use your Deathwatch models. The main thing that's come out in the book is it gives you ways to use Primaris models, which I haven't really used in my armies because I just don't want to mix scales. But I could see people doing a whole Primaris Deathwatch, and they're actually quite tournament viable. There's some good builds you can do there. The Harlequins have come out, a great model range. The book seems really powerful. Anything that's Eldari, or Eldar, sorry, anything that's that base seems to just get fabulous rules, and the Harlequins are no different. They're fast, they're powerful, they're weirdly survivable, they're really playable, really fun to play. I'm not sure how much fun they're to play against. Who knows? And lastly, Imperial Knights Codex come out, which I think they've done a brilliant job on. Considering the model range isn't that big, they're essentially 3 different models: the small one, the middle one, and the big one, and then variants of the above. The army's got a load of choice, a load of flavour, a load of really cool different things you can do with it. It seems they've done a really bang-up job of making that an interesting army out of a really small selection of stuff. Really well-made book.
Can you add like allies?
Yeah, you can mix your allies in quite nicely. You can make an entire force of it. They've given you loads of different houses you can play, and loads of different ways of mixing it, mechanical or imperial-based.
Lannister or Stark.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But they all seem quite balanced to each other. It's not like I'm looking at it and going, like, if you look at the Space Marine Codex, you go, oh, well, I'm either playing Ultramarines because I want to use Guilliman, or I'm playing Raven Guard because they got -1 to hit.
Right.
They're the 2 best things. Whereas the Night ones, you're going, oh, I want to use that one because they're good at charging forward and that'll work really well with that. But, oh, this one does this one does it. And they all seem quite balanced in there. There's obviously the odd turkey, but there's like 14 different houses you can play, and most of them you can see a use for, which is really nice done. They mixed it in so the ones with the less powerful house kind of like effect, as it were, will have a really good stratagem that goes with it, or will have a really good warlord trait or artifact that goes with it. So they've done a really bang up job of balancing them all out. There's a brilliant death grip stratagem, whereas if your knight's armed with a big fisty thing, which is not particularly good weapon normally, he gets to do this death grip stratagem where he basically latches onto a model and just squeezes it till it goes pop. And you just keep on rolling strength against your opponent. So you roll your d6 and add your knight strength, which is big.
Yeah.
And your opponent, say if you pick up an Eldar Farseer who's got his strength 3, you just pick him up and squeeze him till he dies, because he can never beat you.
Pop like a watermelon.
Yeah, and it's just really flavourful, and it gives a reason to take that fist on the model, which previously you generally wouldn't take as it wasn't a good option. Done lots of cool little balancing and things like that. So really good codex, really well-made book.
Cool.
Okay, what else you got?
Well, before we get on to another Games Workshop thing for you, we'll go on to one of mine.
Yeah, one of your weird niche ones.
So, I think I'm going to mention Warlord Games have got a new game coming out, which is set in the 2000 AD universe, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, but this is the Astronomy Dogs, which
I think it's Strontium, or
well, you can't,
Stronheim.
I
was looking at Jason's bit of paper and I'm like, well, that doesn't look like they've spelled it on the website.
But anyway, it's about human bounty hunters, gang skirmish based. It's designed by guy who did Blood Skies and Andy Chambers.
Oh, nice.
I believe that also, I haven't played the game yet, but I've obviously seen the miniatures. And,
yeah.
And
miniatures, I'm gonna use the term interesting.
Yeah. They're obviously very fluff based.
Yeah,
they're based on
they very much look like they're just lifted from a comic.
Yeah.
Some of them you look at and go, I don't like that miniature. Some you look at and go, that looks awesome. But it looks like they're very much based on the original art.
Which is interesting because obviously the game is the comic is very old. I mean,
yeah, 80s, isn't it?
Yeah. So the artwork and the style is all from that era. So I think this is going to appeal a lot more to people who read and played those.
Yeah.
As opposed to new people. Like, for example, new people play Age of Sigmar because it's more stylized in that.
Yeah, I don't think it's appealing to kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's supposed to.
No, I think it's more because Warlord Games, I use this term loosely, but it's a more veteran gamers company.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like bridging the gap between a Games Workshop player and a Historicals player.
Yes.
It's aiming for that person that's in between those.
Yeah. So you've got good games there. I mean, you've got Bolt Action, Gates of Antares, Conflict 47. They've
got a lot of games now, haven't they?
Blood Skies, which is their new World War II flight combat game. They've obviously got the zombie game, which is kind of dust under the carpet at the moment, as I think they're going to come back. They've got the Samurai game, which has now left my brain. But they've got a good range of mixed games, all different themes and different types of mechanics and stuff. But they are, I don't want to use the word step up, but they are just different enough that they can appeal to different gamer.
Yeah. That's it. They're based in Nottingham, nearby to Games Workshop. When you've got such a big player,
a lot of the people that work there are old Games
Workshop
staff.
But when you've got such a big player like Games Workshop, there's so much more reach and so much more money. You've got to offer something different with your games, and they do a really good job at doing that.
Yeah, very much so. And some of the games are fantastic. The figures are really good as well, and they do a good range of stuff. And I wouldn't call them a small company anymore. I think
as we just went through their range, they've got a massive range of models out there.
And I didn't even mention any of the historical stuff they do, Black Powder stuff and everything. So this is I think this is another good addition to their range of games. I think
and it's very different to the others, as you're saying.
And it'll appeal to those people out there who love the comics, and I think it'll find a niche in the gaming world as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would get it. I mean, it's one of those, because I'm not 100%. Some of the models are really nice. I like the jetpack things, and I think Johnny Alpha looks really cool. But some of the other aliens don't really appeal to me.
Yeah, the models don't appeal to me. They're not my type of model. So
it's one of those games that I definitely want to try before I buy it. And even then, I'm still on the fence, I think. But anyway.
Miniature gaming is such a thing because if you're into the miniature game, you really want to paint your models and stuff. And I've got cabinets at home with my figures in. And I just like going in there while I'm brushing my teeth and looking at my models because I love the models.
Yeah.
So to play a miniature game, I really think you've got to love the models that you're buying. So I don't particularly enjoy those models, so I know I wouldn't get into that game just because I don't particularly enjoy the model. But some people, they will call out, I read that comic when I was a child, that model is straight out of the comic, I'd love to paint them up, and that's who they're aiming at.
Exactly, yeah. And I think they'll find a market.
Yeah, I think it will.
What else you got, man?
So I've got a couple of little 40k Games Workshop-y stuff. So you may have seen out there were a few leaked photos of a game called Rogue Trader. Now, some of the models in that just looked amazing. I'm an old school 40 player. I still have my original Rogue Trader rulebook at home, which was the first ever 40k. And some of the models there look brilliant. There's a Rogue Trader model. There's some weird Nurgle amalgams. I really want a box set to come out. But Games Workshop haven't done kind of like a proper official release telling you even what it's about yet.
John and I talked about this in the last episode.
Okay. But it looks like it might be tied to another game called Kill Team, which just today they have done a proper announce on, and that looks really interesting.
I'm actually super psyched for Kill Team.
Yeah, I think it looks really good. It's interesting, it's another skirmish game, and Games Workshop actually in the press release went into a little bit about, yes, we made a load of skirmish games. There's Shadow or Armageddon, a lot of their boxed games, like the two Horus Heresy games, things like that.
Even Necromunda falls.
Necromunda. And they basically said, if you read between the lines, this is replacing all of those games other than Necromunda.
Yeah.
Like Shadow or Armageddon, this is a direct replacement. They're not doing any more Shadow or Armageddon. This is that game now. Yeah. But it's a new bespoke rule set. It's not 40k. It's not on. I
wonder if it was like a Shadow War was like a tester.
To see how it sold.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because the thing that sold Shadow War predominantly, I feel, was the terrain that came in the box.
And this has got nice new terrain in it as well.
And a lot of that terrain from that box is in there.
Is redoing.
And because they didn't use any new figures and stuff, it was just...
And it will be the same here.
Yeah.
Well, the Gene Stealers, some of the Gene Stealers that we've seen are new and different, so there might be new Gene Stealer cults.
So they've repackaged all the new Cities of Death terrain into this Kill Team stuff.
Yeah, looks really good. And it's, as I was saying to you earlier, it looks like they're going the route of, what's the game? The fantasy...
Shadespire.
It looks like they're going the Shadespire kind of like release method slightly, whereas they're releasing the core game, but then they're releasing, here's a box of orcs, and inside the box of orcs you get a bit of terrain, which I really like, giving you some terrain. It's obviously a game where terrain is really important.
Yeah.
So giving you some with your miniatures, and they say the terrain is going to be knocked down price. You'll get your box of orcs, which might normally cost 20 quid. You get your terrain, which might normally cost 20 quid, and they'll sell you that for 25 quid. So you're getting a good discount on buying both of them.
Especially if it's 25 quid.
Yeah. It won't be 25 quid, folks. Don't take that. But it will come with a few cards to use in the game, and that's obviously their selling point. They want you to buy all the boxes for all of the things because you'll get cards you'll only get in there. Which is my one drawback of the game.
Well, that Shadespire has done really well in that, because you bought the starter box, which comes with the two factions and the starter base cards. It's almost like buying a Magic starter box.
Yeah,
and you get a couple of boosters and then you have to go and buy more boosters.
It's very much the Fantasy Flight
mechanic.
it's not mechanic, a selling scheme. I can't remember the word I'm looking for there.
I know what
business
you mean.
mode.
Yeah.
But they're not kind of like buttering on like Fantasy Flight. There's not 2 things a month.
Yeah.
I think Shadespire has been perfectly easy to keep up with, even if you don't want to spend a lot of money. It's 1 box every couple of months.
The other thing that they're doing, which is better than what because like for example, Fantasy Flight brought out Imperial Assault.
Yeah.
New expansions for that every freaking 3 months. And then, boosters and blisters. And then brought out a whole new game. With
Same models at a slightly bigger scale.
Yeah, whereas I don't think Games Workshop are not doing that. They brought out Shadespire. They're bringing out new factions. But those models are easily usable in Age of Sigmar.
Use them in 40k or Age of Sigmar and you can just transfer
any game
back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, with Shadespire, they even give you rules for all of their little teams that they produce to use in Age of Sigmar as a group.
Yeah.
And they give you those rules for free. Can't cost them more, really.
That's one thing that I think is really good. I don't know why Fantasy Flight went down that other route, but I think they've missed a trick in that cross compatibility is a massive thing for gamers.
Oh, huge, yeah.
If you can multi-use some of the stuff you have, that's much.
Well, when I originally got back into 40k, 7-8 years ago now, one of the things that drew me back in was I still had a demon fantasy army, and
I played against that army.
Yeah, and I came down to, I think it was your shop, in fact, and I was looking at the 40k stuff, and I was like, oh, I can use my demons in 40k. That cross compatibility has led to me spending untold thousands of money on 40k because I was drawn in because I already had a few models I could use.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, initially, short term, you look at it and you think, well, we're losing out money here because...
Yeah, I could get them to buy 2 of that.
Yeah, as opposed to... But I think long term, it's better because... Yeah. I mean, you then play both games, and if you play enough of both games, you'll buy more for both games.
Exactly, that's how it works, isn't it?
But obviously, Fantasy Flight didn't see it that way. And
they're obviously making money, so...
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can put Star Wars in a poop and people buy it.
But that's Kill Team.
I am actually really looking forward to Kill Team. I love the idea of the squads that you build can then advance in experience.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really love about Necromunda or Shadow of Armageddon was the advancement system.
Yeah, and I think there's something about the aesthetic of it as well. I mean, it's cool playing a big game of 40k with large armies and tanks and things.
Yeah.
But there's also something about that smaller, focus on each individual character. And because we were saying earlier, 40k gives you that conversion capability.
Yeah.
You can make some really narrative, interesting units. And you can have things like Bomb de Jour coming back out of retirement.
And it's also timescale, isn't it? I love 40k, but it takes, best will in the world, 4 hours to play a game of 40k. But the fact that I can use all my lovingly crafted models and terrain, and hopefully, they've done Kill Team versions in the past where you can cobble together some half-assed parts of the 40k rules to try and play a skirmish game. But they said this has been designed from the ground up to be a proper skirmish game, to be balanced. I mean, how often do Games Workshop note about balance in their press releases? They specifically told you the team has been told to try and make it balanced, and they want to do tournaments of this and such. And Shadespire is similar. They've designed it to be balanced, and it seems to mostly be working. There's obviously going to be some outliers there I don't know of, but
of course, yeah.
But it's really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to being able to use some of my models. I love being able to use models I've previously built and painted, but no longer have much use for in a game of 40k. I can bring those to a table and use them again.
Yeah, it looks... And also, one thing, when they announce something, it's not long to wait.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not like a Kickstarter mode.
Yeah, that's it. Later this month.
Yeah, later this month.
Start next month, I'll be buying that box.
And then we'll be doing some campaigns next month.
Yep. And you know it's going to be good value as well.
Yeah.
Any of their box games, you get terrain and models.
Good value is relative, isn't it?
Well,
it's good value to what they normally charge.
And it's only ever good value if you use all the things in the box.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah,
but I'll find somebody to buy the Gene Stealer cult. Sigh.
Or Ally Army.
No, not happening.
Actually, I think John does Gene Stealer.
Yeah, I know he does. John.
Alright, just quickly, I'm going to talk about something from Mantic. Mantic obviously did a Kickstarter last year for Terrain Crate.
Yep.
And that is coming to retail now, and it looks fantastic. I love all that sort of shit.
I was looking at it earlier. I didn't see the price point though. What do you know? What the price point is?
They range from about $20 all the way up to £70. And it's because it's different size boxes. And I think the Kickstarter, you can't buy that because they had an actual crate of stuff and they gave extra stuff in it, and they made a few extra which apparently they put on their website, and this will be the only time you can get it. But other than that, everything else was then packaged into individual packages. So you can buy, for example, just the mine set, or just the camp set, or just.
But it looks so good for doing any kind of thematic board you want to do. I mentioned if you're doing an army with lots of big bases on, there's so much stuff there you can make the bases look really interesting.
The games that I'm really looking at, like Frostgrave, for example, you know, beautiful to bring the story back into.
Really good for skirmish games.
Yeah. All those type of games. This sort of shit's gonna, and obviously keeping in mind Dungeon Saga. This is where they started off. Dungeon Saga came with the scenery, and they were saying that Dungeon Saga sold more scenery packs than the actual game.
I'm trying to remember that other game you had that had all the sci-fi scenery in.
Oh, Sedition Wars.
Yeah, that sci-fi scenery from that you can't buy it for love nor money.
I mean, that's so funny. The Sedition Wars game, you can buy that for like a tenner.
Yeah.
But the scenery box, you're spending 50, 60 quid.
Oh yeah, I tried to buy it. Yeah, you can't buy it.
And it's crazy. Yeah, I think, and then, since then I've lapped up anything scenery wise. Yeah. Because I just like the idea of adding, you know, especially when you're playing dungeon games, instead of just having a counter, to have a bookshelf that's there looks much better.
Yeah. Well, it's like Zone Mortalis. I've got a big Zone Mortalis board. I've seen various videos, but I've been slowly collecting more terrain to add to that, just because just sticking little computer consoles in the rooms and things like that just makes it look so much better and makes it such a better play experience. It
makes it narratively so much cooler as well. So yeah, I'm totally on board with this, and I've heard that because this is obviously fantasy terrain.
Yeah, it's got lots of dungeony stuff, mine stuff, village stuff, that kind of thing.
And the rumour is that they'll be doing a sci-fi one soon.
Yeah,
obviously they did in Star Saga. They did all the sci-fi scenery.
Yeah, they've probably got a load of it already done.
Yeah, so
I'll definitely be jumping on board that.
So that's my news.
And last thing I'll chat about is the new edition of XWing out there. Myself and my mate Nick, we own some XWing stuff between us, and you've played XWing, haven't you?
I played it here. Tony and Ash both had
they had big boxes of it. Yeah.
I think Molo has as well, so I've just been playing with theirs.
But it's interesting, the new edition of that
I'm no expert.
I follow X-Wing on some podcasts and things, and I see the need for a new edition. The competitive meta is really stagnated, and there are such stupid killy combos and such that you play. You can't use half the ships in the game, are just unusable in competitive games and things like that. So it needs a new edition to come out, because they've been constantly adding more stuff to it, and there's no way, as we know from 40k, Magic, whatever, there's no way to keep balance when you just keep on adding stuff. So they need to hit the reset button. But to me, it's the first time one of the new kind of like wave of Fantasy Flight style games has hit the reset button. We're long-time 40k and fantasy players. We know what happens when the reset button. Yeah, you lob out the rule book and you just have to go. But Fantasy Flight are different because they don't have rule books, but instead they've got all the cards, all the tokens, all the templates that come with all their games. And they're now saying to gamers, take all that shit,
throw it away.
And you have to buy. So there's 3 factions in X-Wing. There's the Scum faction, the Empire, and the Rebels, and they've now brought out kind of like Resistance and First Order, which are moulded together with the Empire and whatever. But you have to buy an upgrade pack for each of those. So say you buy your Empire upgrade pack, that will come with it. They'll have new dials for, say, 3 TIE fighters. They'll have new dial for your command shuttle, and all new cards represent all the pilots. You can't use any of the old stuff as far as I'm aware. Even new tokens and things. So you buy that box for those. But what say if you've got 5 TIE fighter models, and the $50, probably 40 quid box only comes with 4 TIE fighter bases in?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to either go to eBay, you're going to have to buy a second 40 quid box to get that one dial for your spare TIE fighter.
Find some sucker to trade with.
Yeah, I don't know a better way of doing it, but I'm not sure that's the best way of doing it, you know what I mean? It's difficult because of their business model. Having to put something out that replaces all of those components, forcing players to buy that stuff when they're not really getting any new models in that. It's a miniatures game, you're spending 40 quid and just getting some tokens and stuff, and you're throwing away a load of very similar tokens. I'm not sure how that's going to go down.
I mean, a cynical person would say this is obviously just a way of making money.
Any serious players just spending 120 quid just like that because they have to buy them.
Whereas another point is like they're trying to make the game better and move it forward and keep the meta changing and so on. And as a miniature gamer, I've always known that any miniature game, any proper like Privateer Press,
Mantic, anything like that.
Yeah, I need to. You always have to realise that at some point the game is going to change and you're going to have to ditch what you had before. But as from a board gamer's perspective, I mean, I've seen just the resistance to legacy games. Where you play a game 15 times, then throw it in the bin. Yeah,
then you cannot use this game again.
Yeah, and I've seen the resistance to that, so I can imagine the resistance to, I've spent, 600-700 quid on all these stuff, and now it's useless.
Because they are a bridge between miniature gaming and board gaming. Because all the parts come pre-made, it's done with cards instead of rule books. So it is aimed towards the board gamer. And as you say, they're not going to want to throw it away. But it will be, if the game is markedly improved, then it will work.
Yeah.
If the game isn't a whole lot better, then people will go, I've spent all this money and it's still the same game.
I mean, you just have to look at at the expo, how much space there was for Fantasy Flight tournaments, and you know people will play it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's always that outcry on the internet, originally when something changes, and that even happens. Games Workshop, Private Jet Press, any of those games.
I suppose the biggest there's ever been is when they canned fantasy.
Yes.
And brought Age
people
of Sigmar.
freaking burn their miniatures.
And yeah, I remember that video. That guy burning his beautiful Dark Elf army. But you look at Age of Sigmar now, and it's going from strength to strength. It's really successful. So that was the right thing to do. Obviously must have been super painful for Games Workshop financially. They had to design loads of new models, loads of new rules, and just the bad will they generated in their customer base.
For them to do that in the first place, they must have been suffering anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no company is going to do something that's bad for their business. Yeah. And if they were really struggling, that's what they...
I think the rumour was Fantasy was making up maybe 10% of their revenue, but it was nearly half their model base. So you look at that, those sums don't work.
Yeah.
So for putting that much investment in models...
I mean, I was a massive advocate for Warhammer Fantasy, but even I can look at a business model and go, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I see.
You can't keep on selling stuff if it's not making you money.
The only thing I would have said is they didn't need to dump it all. You know, they could have just...
I'm sure there would have been a more elegant way of doing that transition than, and the world's blown up.
Yeah, they could have just, kept it alongside and started a new game. I think Age of Sigmar would have still done really well, because obviously there was a large outcry for something like that.
But it's quite possible they wanted to, strange as it sounds, they wanted to jettison their old customer base. Yeah. And wanted a new customer base to then drive forward with.
But then, of course, that obviously allows other companies like Kings of War, for example, to prosper.
Loads of companies popped up.
Yeah, and I mentioned in a previous Clueless Knights how many friggin' Tetris-style Warhammer games are coming out now. So there's that as well.
I suppose for XWing, it's the case of, because Fantasy Flight have certainly pushed that, some of their other games, but XWing, I suppose, the most, is that it is a competitive game. They have big tournaments. They put on a World Championship. It has to be a competitive meta. So it has to be an interesting competitive game to play. So if the old edition was getting to a point where it was not an interesting game to play, all those players that are encouraged in for a competitive game would go and play other stuff. And so resetting that hopefully resets that meta for them. And
they probably reach a point as well where their idea of what to bring out for the game is now reached capacity.
Well, I've noticed.
Why would they still support a game?
They're re-bringing out the Fire Spray. They're re-bringing out the Millennium Falcon with slight differences from the previous one. Yeah. So they get to reuse their molds. They get to rehash things that are popular. Like if I see a new Millennium Falcon expansion with new Lando and Chewie piloting, that's much more exciting than. And here's this X4B12 piloted by an unknown bounty hunter from the kind of like Corellian Quadrant or something. It's like. Oh, he was in one book 15 years ago. Much as I love the Star Wars Extended Universe, and I'm sold on it, that's not going to sell as well as a new Falcon piloted by new Lando cars and stuff. Yeah.
No, for sure. Alright, so where were we? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, I haven't got any Kickstarter
stuff. I've got a couple of things I want to mention. One that just finished yesterday or today is Solomon Kane from Mythic Battles. Mythic Games. This is obviously set in the Witch Hunter Solomon Kane universe. It's a story-based game, which is really cool. Well, what's interesting, obviously, you immediately think of, Solomon Kane's one dude. Yeah. How is this a cooperative game?
How has this turned into a full-fledged game?
Yeah, that can be played by 4 people. Which I was wondering before the Kickstarter came out. Hopefully there'll be a late pledge, and I'll put a link below and you can go check it out if you're interested. But what happens is, it's a fully cooperative game against the board.
I like all against the games. I prefer those to one against many type of thing.
Actually, I'm the opposite.
I know you are, yeah.
But this one is each person plays not Solomon Kane himself. They play a virtue of Solomon Kane.
Interesting.
So one will play, say, I can't remember the virtues' names now. But
like bravery and intelligence.
So for one will guide him in various aspects of his life. And so, when he goes to complete a story, and you're, say, for instance, his empathy bit, and the part of the story comes up where you can either save someone or hurt someone. You have to make those decisions.
That's a very interesting take on a game.
Yeah.
getting it to work and getting it so that all the players have as much
Equal
input
amount.
and stuff to do will be difficult.
Yeah, but I think they've pulled it off because they were demoing it at the expo, and most people that played it. I mean, there was a couple of guys who mentioned that the demo that they played was a little lackluster. But in a demo situation, you just want to get people to the table.
You can't put a massively complicated scenario down because
and
you
the
get
way
people through the door.
the way the stories work is like it's almost like a narrative story that you follow through different aspects and stuff. So it sounds really cool.
So it might be one of those games where you can't replay the stories, I would wager. So
Yes, they say basically the stories are replayable because there's different aspects and paths you can take and different outcomes on various things.
yeah, but not hugely.
Not
but
hugely,
I think
yeah.
those type of games rely on you putting out more
New
content.
But as this is a Mythic Games game, there's tons of content on the Kickstarter.
Excellent.
I mean, I was scrolling down the list and I felt like this list never ended. And then, of course, with them, you also get fantastic miniatures.
Yeah.
So the virtues themselves are like these giant.
I was going to say,
statues.
do you each get a different miniature? Are you using the same miniature?
Yeah. So the Solomon Kane miniature's on the board, and he interacts with all the NPC stuff that's going on. So you've got miniatures for pirates and robbers and soldiers, and it's also gone a little fantastical as well. So it's got like werewolves and vampires and zombies and gorillas. And and that. But your miniatures are physically on the board, but they are not interactive.
I see. So they become like spirits sort of thing moving
exactly,
around.
yeah. So that's the case that you do there. But I think the miniatures look amazing. I mean, there's a lot of story. Look, I think they were talking about. Don't quote me on this, but they're talking about 13 stories just in the base game, and then obviously they've got tons of add-ons and stuff. So there's a lot of content there.
My only comment would be, and this is probably coming from my background as a role player, is that I think that might be done better as a non-board game.
Maybe
Playing the different,
But it's
because you're
hard.
playing the aspects of somebody's personality. I'd need to play it, I suspect, to see how much of an impact the actual having the board is doing for you.
Yeah, I mean the board itself, it didn't look that great in terms of, it's like almost like looks like the Mythic Battles boards, you know, really odd shapes and stuff.
Yeah,
But I
they'll
think it's
probably be reusing it for different scenarios and
I
using
think
it
it's
different ways.
Yeah, it's more. I think just for how can I say like invoke your imagery.
Yeah,
You know, that's
a lot
something.
of miniature games, you need the miniature there to really get you into the feel for the game.
I mean, as a role player, like I'm not much of a role player.
No.
Yeah, I would say I'm at the lowest spectrum.
Other than in the bedroom.
Yeah, but if I was to do serious role playing, I would like the idea, like that video that circulated the internet for a while ago, where that guy had that massive dungeon scenery thing that he had.
Oh yeah.
Massive village, city, the whole fantasy world basically, and that's the way I want to play role plays. You know,
See, generally, I do lots of role playing, and I've done it for I suppose 25 odd years now, and we've kind of like gone away from. We used to use miniatures and things like that, but we've really gone away from that now. It's all in the description. We do more abstract gaming, and I suppose that's because we've done it for so long. We've gone away from the miniatures board gaming thing. So
I think you guys are just
it's all up
lazy.
in your head.
Can't be bothered.
Yeah, it's all different styles of game you do. Generally, in role playing, you need miniatures and such. If you've got an intricate combat system where you need to kind of like have measurable distance and tactical, being able to tactically see where stuff is. If it's more abstract role playing, you don't need to worry about any of that kind of stuff.
It's true. But there's this. And then the other Kickstarter I want to talk about, and this is a more topic of discussion, is a game called Overturn Rising Sands.
This is the one we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I'll put you up. Yeah, and this game looks amazing. It's
Miniatures look really good.
yeah.
And there are a lot of them.
Even though it's only renders, and the problem is this is almost like a mini roleplay game anyway, as or sort of a la Gloomhaven style, where you're playing a party of people, and there's tons of NPCs and stories and buildings and stuff. Even though the base game only
the
card.
table. If Jason puts the link on, it'll probably be the Kickstarter picture. And the board in the centre looks incredible. All the scenery on it, and all that scenery comes in the game.
Yeah. So on surface, when you look at it immediately, you think, "Holy crap, this is a must-buy."
Yeah.
Because it looks fantastic.
I looked at it and I wasn't even looking at it going, "Oh, I wonder what the game's like." I was looking at it going, "Cool, I'd love to play on that table." It looked that good.
But then there was a couple of things. As someone who deals with a lot of Kickstarters in terms of not just buying and playing them,
Yeah, also
but,
on the other end of them as well.
working with publishers and stuff doing the Kickstarters, I noticed a few things. They put up a little red flags. Now, I just want to preface before we say any of this. I don't actually think these people are trying to con anyone.
No.
I think they are genuinely trying to get their game out there, which is what Kickstarter's for. And I genuinely think they have, in their mind, a beautiful product that they want people to play. So let's state that first.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of issues that I found with it. First of all, their funding goal is 25 grand. Now, that is peanuts compared to... I mean, the amount of content that you get in this box... And they're charging, I think it was $125 for the
I looked at
base
the $125 and thought to myself, that's just... I don't know how you could make that.
Yeah.
You'd need to be building them in such volume to kick that out at that kind of price.
Just the postage alone for that size quantity of stuff from wherever they manufactured, let's say China, and have it manufactured all the way through to the various countries that they're going to post in, which will be predominantly Europe and America.
Yeah.
It's going to cost them so much money just on postage.
God.
Where's the money coming from?
I mean, the box is going to be like this, isn't it?
It's so heavy. And they've got add-ons as well, where they changes all this card scenery to actual resin scenery. That's so heavy. That's like the cost is...
Maybe we didn't look right. Maybe it's kind of like epic scale. Like the figures are like this big.
Yeah. And
if so, incredibly detailed on that scale.
So that was the first part. I thought the naivety of the money that they need. Of course, I don't know everything about what's happening. So
No.
They could have the money already, and this is just a marketing scheme for them to get the name out there for the game. They don't actually need the money to fund the game.
But even just the asking price of 125 just seems
very
crazy.
low. Yeah. And I as the Kickstarter started, I saw a couple of comments and stuff, and some of the comments that they replied to from other people asking very similar questions was alarming. That they just put it out there that they were like, we have no idea what we're doing, sort of thing. You know, like we've not done any of this before. You know, we're just kind of winging it. It was like, whoa, boy, that's crazy talk. You know, this is a lot of money that people are handing over. And the game's made about 200 grand already.
Yeah, I think it was at 180 or something like that.
Yeah, so that was just alarming to me that they didn't really have, as far as I could tell from their comments and from the answers that they were giving, that they didn't really have any idea of what they were going to do.
I suppose it might be a bit of kind of like, go back 5 years on Kickstarter. That's what most companies were like when they went on there. Whereas nowadays, we're so used to companies...
being much more professional.
Being so much more, and repeatedly Kickstarter. Let's take Mythic Battles, for instance. They're re-Kickstartering the original game on there. And people backing that, they've got no danger. They know that's going to fulfill. They know the quality it's going to be because it's already there. So there's no danger backing it. Whereas 5 years ago, anything you backed, you didn't really know what was doing. And the people who were doing the Kickstarter, they had no idea how it was going to progress because nobody had done it like that before. And so maybe these people are just kind of like...
And this is another that brought me into another thought of a story, like you mentioned, about 5 years ago. I wasn't quite 5 years, it was more like 3.5, 4 years ago. There was a game that came out from another company. Well, the thing I didn't mention, this company has not done any other games before.
Yeah.
And if you check on their profile for Kickstarter, they've not backed any games, they've not communicated with anyone. It's like a poof, we're a new company.
It's weird.
And that no profile or no history is quite alarming to anyone who's...
I suppose a possibility is it could be a well-known company who doesn't want to, for some reason, associate a name. They may have produced a game and are selling it under a different name. Who knows?
It's like, for example, there was like Prodos. You know, they're obviously a well-known company, but they've been, with a bad reputation, if you like. So they made a separate company called Archon Studios. Which,
that's kind of where I was going, I think.
Where they made a couple of games, and their reputation as Archon Studios is decent because they got the games out, they've sent, and everything is fine. But everyone knows that it's Prodos, and the people there are some people that might go, actually, I won't back this because it's Prodos. And I understand that, but when you have no profile, it's like
it's zero, no good, no bad, no nothing.
Kickstarter it could be a dangerous place for someone like because they might end up with all good intentions trying to get the game out there, and then eventually go down the road of actually we've messed this up horribly, and we have no chance of doing this, and people will lose their money and the game falls apart.
I mean, hopefully people will back it and it'll be really successful.
Well,
if so, I'll be interested to know how they're getting their miniatures made for such a small amount of money.
All the miniatures are going to come horrible.
Oh.
Yeah, because
it'll be Project Elite again.
Yeah,
you'll get some melted plastic in the post.
Because these are just 3D renders that you're seeing as well, and it's a really cool theme as well. Like
that is always the danger, because anyone can make a 3D render look good. Getting that 3D render turned into a well-produced miniature is a a challenge.
And also the other thing I was going to mention about that as well is that they have no reviews or previews from any reliable,
You've got to send them out. But if they got no miniatures to send out, haven't had any made.
Just having the game played by someone else that's not their company and putting their, their stamp on it is a big thing. But there's none of that. So that was kind of I just wanted to bring that to
interesting talking point.
Yeah, so that Kickstarter's not all doom and gloom, but it's
everybody's had bad experiences, and those friends have had bad experiences. But then there's so many good experiences as well. You very rarely hear a news story of Kickstarter fulfills on time because that happens all the time. So it's not a news story, and you always hear the really bad ones. I always remember, unfortunately, the Hawk War Games one for their Fleet Battles game, which are probably still going on. People still saying they haven't got their stuff.
I thought I would bring that to people's attention.
No.
You can go check it out. And I'd like to see in 2 years' time if this actually gets delivered.
Yeah, be interesting to see what comes out of it.
So that's the news and the Kickstarter news. Shall we move on to some games played?
Games played.
So did you get any games played in Barbados?
Well, actually, now my wife isn't the biggest game player. I'll play certain games with her. So we took with us...
Well, we don't talk about those type of games.
Well, no. We took with us Uno. And the hotel we were staying in had a little games library. So while I was away, I played Uno, Scrabble, Articulate Game, a few others like that, Bananagrams.
This hotel sounds rubbish.
Yeah. But before I went away, I did get a game of 40k, and actually, I think
was it the wedding game?
It was the wedding game. 2 days before I got married, I believe. Myself and my mate Nick played a 40k wedding-themed game where we used Saint Celestine, and Nick was playing Be'lakor, the Prince of Chaos, and he was attempting to marry Saint Celestine in a unholy union of chaos, and I was controlling Rabute Gulliman and the forces of the Ultramarines, who were trying to stop him marrying her in this ritual. And it was a really good fun game, quite thematic, ended in a really kind of like cool fashion. So Jason will put a link somewhere around the screen in the way he does for you to go and watch that. So that was really good fun.
I can't imagine it, but was there any hobby shops on the island of Barbados?
I did not see a single hobby shop. I did mention to Emma maybe we should go looking in Bridgetown, but it was, no, she didn't seem to think that was a good idea. I'm sure there must be some.
Well, before I get to a couple of games played, we went to the UK Games Expo.
Yep.
And obviously you missed that.
I did, yeah. One day, next year, I've said to Emma I really want to go next year.
Well, I would hazard to book a hotel quickly because they get booked up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I did quite a lot of videos for the UK Games Expo, especially on my Gaming Nights channel. So if you follow the link below in the show notes, you can go to the videos there. I did a walkthrough of the Hall 1. I did a video of us just working at the stand that I was helping at, CCG's stand.
It gets bigger every year as well, it seems.
In fact, this year they had over 21,000 attendees, which is now the third biggest convention in the world.
Yeah.
Gaming convention that
yes, you're getting, it's now getting mentioned in the same kind of like breath as Gen Con and kind of like Essen and places like
Gen
that.
Con and Essen are still the two biggest.
Yeah.
But Origins used to be the third biggest. Now Expo has overtaken that as the third biggest because Origins just finished last week and that had just under 19,000 attendees and Expo 21,000.
Yeah.
Expo went up by something like 25% attendance, which is massive growth.
Massive. It shows how popular the gaming industry is, though.
Yeah.
And people I know who aren't hardcore gamers, who are casual gamers, are talking about going or have been to Expo.
It's a great event. I thought this event or this Expo was the best that there's been so far in terms of space. I mean, they opened up in the Expo Birmingham NEC. They had the first hall that they've been using for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But this time they connected a second hall that was up by stairs. And that second hall just created so much more space.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that one of the organisers was telling me that there was just as many stalls in the second hall as there was in the first hall, which was unbelievable to me, considering 70% of it was taken up by open gaming and tournament space. But obviously, it was a lot more smaller stalls, whereas all the big stalls were in the hall 1.
Yeah.
But still, that meant there was a lot of places that you can go check out, a lot of independent games. A lot of places to go try out games.
Yeah, loads of new stuff, kind of pre-Kickstarter things.
And what was really cool was, like, I remember 6-7 years ago when I went to go to the first couple of expos I went to, it was very difficult to find space to demo games. I mean, You would have to be cramped into areas.
That's what space gives you, isn't it? You can have tables at each of the stalls.
You would have, like, for example, the new game that was released at NEC, for example, you would have 3 copies that you can go play, and you're guaranteed almost to get a chance to play it. Whereas obviously 3-4 years ago it was 1 copy, and if you wanted to play it, you needed to book.
Popular games, there'd be a crowd round it as well.
Exactly, yeah. So that was really cool. I thought the family zone was unbelievable. There was so much space for families. You know, all the bigger versions of games. So you got like you know, a game in gigantic size. There was obviously cosplayers. There was food stalls. There was.
It seems to take on a far wider variety of gaming as well.
Yep. War games had a much bigger presence. Thanks to Games Workshop, obviously. They were right in the centre, right in the front. They had a huge
continuing their big push of going to all the conventions and stuff and getting their product out there and telling people what they're doing.
And it was just really fun. I mean, from a punter's point of view, going there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, the weather was brilliant as well. And the venue as well. The NEC itself, the section, it was a beautiful place. I mean, even if you just want to get away from the gaming and the people, and you go out into the area where there's like a big lake, and they had like places you can sit there and eat and stuff like that. So that was brilliant. I talk about all this in the videos, so instead of talking about all this, but I thought we had a great time.
Next year, mark my words.
Oh, I want to go to the Essen and Gen Con next year as well. But yeah, so
I'd love to go to Gen Con.
I was at the expo, got that, videos for that. I also played 2 games of Kings of War, and I played them both on the same day, and I tried out a different army. I played Swampy, and he tried out his new Lizardmen army.
Did he spank you as he usually does?
Oh, clearly you haven't watched the video.
You won!
Yeah, I did. Then I played Molo.
Spoiler!
Yeah, well, that's old news now.
That's fine.
And then I also played Molo's Dwarfs, and that was an interesting game. One of the things we were playing was the new battlefield effect cards. So you got like this deck of cards, and you shuffle them up, and then you reveal an event that will trigger for the whole game. And in this particular event, it was a magical storm over the battlefield, which made all fireball, lightning, and healing spells +3. So you got extra 3 dice to throw at it. And he was playing dwarves who don't have any of those, and I was playing humans who had all 3 of those.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, so that only benefited me.
This is the problem, and I love a random table in the game, but often you can roll and this is massive advantage to me. Yeah. Unlucky son.
Unfortunately, I didn't capitalise on that.
You shot me.
Yeah. I tried my best, but we also, other than over the battlefield, there was this new objective-based deck as well. So it gives you a primary and a second objective. Your secondary is hidden until the 4th turn. So you have those. And then you have these little cards as well that you can benefit, like strategy cards they're called. You can benefit. They give you like maybe an extra reroll or something like that. Just minor little effects to the game. And one of the ones that Molo had was he could deploy 12, I think it was 3 or 6, certain amount of distance further up the board. Which was interesting because he was
especially for a slow army like dwarves.
And he had a very shooty army as well. So from the first turn, he could then start peppering me. And I was under severe pressure, but I pushed up as fast as I can. There was no point sitting back. I have no shooting.
And that's it. You'll just die.
Yeah, he was shooting the crap out of me. And once I got into the game and I was starting to get into his units, I was starting to wipe him out. And I got down to the point where I just completely blanked on the scenario objectives, and I was like, I'm going to wipe him out. And I didn't. And he did focus on the objectives and thrash me. So that was interesting. The other thing we also did, we played it, and I did a review for Village Attacks on my gaming channel. And Village Attacks was actually a really interesting game. It's got some fantastic miniatures, in fact.
You got some to hand?
Yeah, I've got some behind us.
Oh, I wonder what these are from.
I put up some miniatures. This is a little diorama I made of the vampire model.
Really cool.
So you play as the monsters. So you play the vampires.
So you're attacking the village.
No, you are inside the castle. Have you played Orcs Must Die, the computer game?
Yes.
It's basically that.
Yeah, I played the demo.
The inspiration of that. So we are in the castle as the Draculas.
I see. The villagers are
coming
attacking
to burn
your
us
castle.
down. Yeah.
Ah, nice.
So the villages are automated by a deck. And they move
interesting. Yeah.
And there's
it's basically a castle defense game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah, okay, nice.
And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I would definitely check it out. Go check out the video. We've got quite a bit of gameplay on there. And the miniatures are great, fantastic. Loads of options in terms of what monsters you can play and how many villages. You've got like special village. You've got basic peasants, which are just like these guys.
Yeah.
You just move around, get mulched by everything. But then you get like special hunters that are specific to hunting a type of monster.
Is this guy one or?
He's a hunter, yeah. And then you got...
That's a cool miniature as well. That's nice.
And then you got town heroes, who are basically monsters in human form. They are badass. And when they come in, like everyone's stamping and running to go murder them because they're so badass. So it was really good fun. And the scenario we were playing was we had to drag 4 peasants from the castle that come into the castle to the kitchen for dinner. But what was interesting is obviously once you pick up the peasant, like you could knock them out and then pick them up. But then if you do, you get a slow token, which means you move slower.
I see, yeah.
And that meant like it takes you a little while to move through the castle to get to the kitchen and dump the peasant into the fridge.
Yeah.
While you do that, the other guys are getting swamped by
So they've got to cover your back because
Yeah.
you're not there doing your section of the board.
It was really good. It was really interesting.
That sounds. I'd like to play that. That sounds good.
So go check that out. So that's what I got from playing was.
What else have I got? I played another game 40k again against Nick. This was a Zone Mortalis game. I've got a reasonable sized Zone Mortalis board now that I slowly add to, and I've started adding lots more scenery for the inside of it. I've got doors now, which are much better. I've kit bashed a load of kind of like little computer consoles and medical bays and things in it, and it's really good fun to play on. Just adding the doors has made such a difference to the rules and to how the Zone Mortalis plays. When I didn't have all the doors, it was a far more open field. There were loads of fire lanes, felt far less claustrophobic. But adding the doors in has just changed it completely. I love playing it now. I made my own set of rules that kind of like just use it because they haven't supported it. Forge World haven't given you any new 8th edition rules. The rules are simple, they're easy, they seem to make sense, and they play really well. So really enjoying that. And Nick and I had another good game, and it was really good. It was Orcs versus Deathwatch, so it was quite a thematic game.
Is that on the channel?
That's on the channel somewhere. That should have been my latest video. Jason will put a linky somewhere.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Get watching.
Well, maybe I have. It's just all your videos are the same.
What do you mean? My production quality is
It's just
not there.
It's just Space Marines versus someone else.
It's not always Space Marines. Sometimes I play black Space Marines instead of red ones.
Oh, I get. No, I'm obviously joking. It's a 40k orientated channel.
It is very much. Have you got any more gameplay? I've got a couple more.
So yeah, you were saying you got some more games you played?
Yeah, so after we played our Zone Mortalis game, Nick and I had a game of Star Wars Legion. First time either of us had played it. He'd bought the box set and he'd made up a couple of forces out of that. I think he'd added one extra set of rebels just to balance the forces up a bit. Play that. Interesting rules. It's similar to, I imagine, what's the fantasy version called? Rune Wars. Similar to that. It's interesting that it's the XWing style game where you've got movement rulers and kind of like a range rulers, and it's kind of set to range 1, 2 or 3. So it's very simple and easy to pick up and really easy to play. The rules were quite interesting. I really liked how they did initiative. You had this kind of like deck of cards that you got at the start of the game, and depending on who is the leader, each leader has their own set of 3 cards that add to a generic set of, I think, 5. And all the cards have a number of dots at the top. And the card you choose, you go via the dots. So I think it's the lower dot gets to go first, but the lower dot cards have worse special powers on and let you choose less units. So it's got a dice bag mechanic. Interesting, we were talking about bolt action and games like that. So say we were playing quite a small game, so maybe I had 2 units of troop type units. I had 1 HQ type unit, and I had a heavy and a special. So my card will say, I'll take my initiative card, and if I've chosen one of the good cards, it will say, choose and activate a leader and a troop unit and another troop unit, say. And so instead of you take your counter for that unit and you leave them out of your dice bag. And then you take all your rest of your counters for your unit. So you'll have another troop unit, maybe another HQ unit, and you put those in the bag. So on your turn you can choose to utilise one of the tokens you've kept out of the bag. So because my initiative card says activate a leader unit and another unit and another unit, I can just choose those whenever I want because it's alternate activation.
Right.
But if I've chosen a really fast initiative card, it will generally give me just 1 unit activated. It will say activate a troop unit, so I'll have 1 token out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So on my turn I can choose to use one of my tokens I've left out, or I have to randomly choose what type of unit to activate from the bag.
Okay.
So if you want to go quicker, you have less control over which units you use.
I like that.
So that's quite interesting. And some of certainly the leader-specific cards also give you other abilities that are in play for that turn. So I liked the rewarding, and there was a bit of a gamesmanship of, I really want to go before Nick, but is he going to go for a low one because he wants to choose his units and he wants that particular special power? So in which case I can go for a slightly better one and still go first. It was I like games within games.
Yeah.
So there was that tactical choice beforehand.
It's funny. Is it, just before I get to what I was going to mention, are you going to invest in this?
I don't think so. I just don't have time to play more big games. And Nick's, because it's one of the Fantasy Flight games where you really have to buy everything to use it, Nick's going to have an Empire army and he's going to have a Rebel army. So it's one of those games, like when we play 40k, Nick often borrows a load of my figures. So when we play Legion, I'll borrow a load of his figures. It's what happens.
But you won't get to paint your own then?
I won't about Nick started painting his and actually looked really good. The Empire stuff, I mean, you've painted enough Stormtroopers to know. Stormtroopers are reasonably easy to paint.
Yeah.
They look good.
What was I going to say? It's funny that you mentioned that you played Legion. I actually played my first game of Rune Wars. Yeah.
You didn't?
I did.
Jason was going on about Rune Wars for months before it came out, and it's been out for like a year and a half, and he's never played it.
Sitting on myself.
Yeah.
But I finally got it to the table. Molo brought he brought the starter box and then invested in some of the elves.
Yeah.
So he brought the elves around, and me and him had a game. I read the rules like a while ago, and I kind of remembered a little bit of it, but I needed a refresher. Okay, so we finally got it to the table. I was playing the human factions. We made up. I think it was about a 200-point warband.
Is that big or small in that game?
I would say, if you remember old fantasy or 40k style, it's probably about 1,000 points.
Okay, so medium to small, but a proper sized game, not like a small skirmish.
I had a big unit of spearmen, bigger than the regulars. Just leave it there. I had a big unit of spearmen. I had 2 of the stone golems. I had a unit of cavalry.
Oh, so that's a fair size. That's bigger than the game of Legion that we played.
Yeah. It's not the starter box contents because I added more stuff to it, but it was basically that. And he was playing a similar sort of army, and we set up the terrain. So the terrain set up randomly, and then there's a couple of missions that you can play. I can't remember the mission we were playing now because I just wiped him out. But what I found interesting about this game, and like you were saying about game within a game, this one has the same sort of thing. You have these dials that you activate on your units.
Yeah.
And one on the left gives you initiative and an action, and the right gives you a bonus action, but the color coordinated. So if you choose a blue initiative action, you can only take a blue or a white bonus action.
Yeah.
If you take a red, you can only take a red or a white.
I see. So your choice there gives you access to a different power scale of other things. So if you want to go faster or whatever, you then can't use the better moves on the second dial.
Exactly. So for example, if you wanted a march, your march, like for example, my infantry had a march move, but it was a 4 initiative or 5 initiative. But they might have a faster one later on, but it's then a 6 initiative.
Yeah, and they're going slower.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, so
I've seen the 2 dials. I didn't know what they did.
So what was happening is, like, obviously you look at it and go, well, he's got some archers over there. I want to charge them. The cavalry's going to move faster than they might shoot, but that means my other infantry are going to probably be outmaneuvered, that sort of thing. So you've got to think about those sort of things during the game. Yeah. And,
that's interesting. I like the choice options there. That's good.
So I thought that was really good. Just based on this one play that I've had, I thought we might have done 1 or 2 things wrong because I went to go check out, and Molo was explaining the rules, so it's obvious that there was some 1 or 2 things wrong.
Missed out half the rules.
But it was some interesting decision making there. Like some of the powers that are affected by the runes that you cast during the game. So the ogres, the stone golems were affected by that. One of the magicians, wizards he had was affected by the runes. So that was interesting. Combat was really interesting because it was quite a lot more brutal than I thought it was going to be.
Is it standard fantasy flight where there's specialist dice you roll and you're looking for symbols and you can activate surges and things?
But like for example, Spearman rolled a red d8 and a blue d8. That's it. A unit of like 40 of them rolls 2 dice. And I was like, well, this is not going to be very brutal. But actually, it turns out, obviously, the further deep your units are, the more rerolls you get. The wider you are, the more damage multiplier you have.
Oh, interesting.
So, for example, in that case, if I rolled the red dice was more aggressive than the blue dice. The blue dice has less. But let's say I rolled 2 damage, and I have 3 wide. That's 6 damage because it's 2 times 3 wide, and I've rolled 2 damage. And then if I needed to, let's say they were 1 rank deep, that meant I had one reroll
Yeah.
or something like that. Which was really interesting because it came up, and if you got into the flank, you get an extra red dice or extra dice of your choice. So it was a lot more brutal than I thought.
Yeah.
And there was like things were dying.
And a little more complex than I imagined it would be as well.
A negative that I thought was the tray system. Man, that tray system don't work for shit. Yeah, it's like, oh my god. It's
I always think it looks unappealing to me. I don't like the weird. Obviously, they do it so you can clip all the bits together. I don't like the look of it. Just the first look, I go, ooh, that's an ugly looking base.
The problem I found was like I had a unit of spearmen, which they come with 4 trays, and I added another 2 trays. So I had 6 trays. 3 of them died in one turn, which meant that a tray was finished. So you'd think you could just pop out the tray with the 3 guys on it.
Yep.
And I did that, and freaking men went flying everywhere, and it's like tray was. When I was trying to take one of the cavalry guys off the horse, friggin' hell, I was struggling so much to get him out. Eventually, I just threw it up like this.
And a game where positioning is quite important because you've got your templates to move by.
Yeah.
You can't just pick it up and plonk it back down.
No, yeah, and it was very frustrating. I've got to admit, the template thing. It's also the movement is very much like the XWing style things. You know, where you have the templates.
Yeah, and it clips on, I imagine.
Yeah.
And
so that worked pretty.
That was very similar in Legion. That has kind of like little guide templates to put stuff down. Although I think Legion uses a more similar to X-Wing dice system, whereas say I'm firing my unit of 8 stormtroopers, each stormtrooper will use a blue dice, and you're firing against the rebel guys who might use a white dice. There are I think 3 different style dice for defence. So you're similar to X-Wing. You roll your attack, you get this many hits or whatever. They roll their defence dice, they take off your hits. You then lose that many hit points.
I think the other problem I had with Rune Wars, overall I liked it actually, and I'm definitely going to be playing it again. And I'm actually toying with trying to get a Taylor 4 Gamers going.
Yeah.
But never mind that. The other problem I had with it was it can be quite frustrating. Like for example, you just set your dial and you think, because you can't pre-measure, so you go like, I think I'm within charge distance. So you go, I'll move to the right to charge, and I'll do this, movement, and then. You put your template, you move down, and you're like a millimeter away.
Yeah.
And then you get like because you chose a charge move, that's a detriment. You get a panic token for that. And
it uses panic. That's exactly what Star Wars Legion uses. It uses like a panic morale system.
It's like, oh come on, a friggin' millimeter. I mean, I know a failed charge is a failed charge, but it's like it's so hard to. A couple of times I was like, oh yeah, this is.
It's a very precise game. Whereas if you were using a ruler.
Yeah.
When you're down to a millimetre, okay, some people may measure exactly to the millimetre, but if you're a millimetre out, you've made that. That's
yeah. And this one is like, I don't. And you move the full distance, and then you stop like.
That's the problem when you sit your range ruler down. You can freely move it in front. It hasn't made it, so
yeah. So that was cool, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And
I enjoyed Legion. Nick and I will be playing it again. I think we're gonna. It was Nick's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and he's picked up a load of extra stuff for that because we finished our game, but we both felt. We needed a little more stuff on the table, so I had Darth Vader, 2 speeder bikes, 2 squads of stormtroopers. Nick had a walker, 3 squads of rebels, and Luke Skywalker. And basically, Darth Vader murdered his entire army. I used cover really well. I beat Nick on the initiative game, so I got Darth Vader into centre of the board, murdered Luke Skywalker, murdered a squad of stormtroopers, chased after another one, lobbed my lightsaber at them, cut them in half with that. I was like, rah, bring it, I'm Darth Vader, you can't hurt me.
That reminds me of another point. It was like the hero hammer thing. Yeah. I felt like that with Legion that was going to be the case, that the characters are going to be too powerful. I think
we needed a bigger scale so that somebody, and obviously Darth Vader is one of the most powerful people in the universe.
Thematically, it makes sense, but gameplay.
To make it a more interesting game, you needed to make him a smaller part of your army. He was half my army.
Yeah.
All my other figures put together equaled him.
And I had a similar thing with my game in the Rune Wars as well. The character I played, I can't remember her name. That was a female human. She was brutal. I mean, she had this ability where if she attacked something and she held a certain amount of surges, she could do like this almost. I want to call it like a lightning attack. Certain distance away.
Yeah.
And I was murdering. She charged into a unit of archers, like a big unit of archers. She was murdering these archers on her own, like killing 2 or 3 of them every turn, and murdering someone else, like 2 or 3 inches away. Just like slicing them down and then lightning bolting this poor character.
No, it's exactly what Darth Vader's doing. You run at somebody, cut them in half a milli, whip your lightsaber out, cut another unit down at range with your lightsaber, and you're like, that's a bit too good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not too good, because he was half my army, but because I won the initiative game and it was such a small game, the fact that he moved and wiped out a unit, that then left Nick on the back foot because he didn't have enough units to wipe out one of my units back. And then the next turn, I won the initiative game again.
Yeah.
And again moved, wiped out one of his, and it was over at that point.
You could feel the rolling downhill thing. But yeah, so that's the games I played last week.
I got one more game I played, it's called Street Masters, and there's a bit more to that name, but it's basically it was a Kickstarter game my mate Paul picked up, and it's trying to evoke kind of like beat 'em ups and other style computer games from the 80s, which that group of friends and I, myself, Paul, Dave, we used to play a load of those games. Things like Streets of Rage, Street Fighter, that kind of stuff. And we opened up this box he got from Kickstarter, and there was all kinds of stuff in this box. So we just went for the base game. It took us about an hour and a bit just to kind of like try and read through the rules and figure out what we were doing and get all the pieces sorted. It didn't come, all the cards weren't sorted correctly, which is really annoying. When they're printing these things, they need to print them and put them into the correct orders, and all the different sets of cards. Legendary games often have a similar thing. But once we actually got started and played the first game, it was really good. Each character comes with kind of like a deck, but all the decks work in different ways. Like I was playing a character that was all about drawing cards and moving really fast and taking extra actions, whereas Paul's character was playing, his deck used combos to combo stuff that was already in his graveyard, whereas the other Paul, his deck had to get certain cards in play, but then he could trigger all of his cards in play in order. So they each played really differently, and it's all against the game type of game, so you wouldn't like it as much. But the game had quite a complicated what everything did, but the rulebook laid it out quite nicely, and it had a particular way of setting up the table, and then as long as you set the table in that order, you kind of like worked around kind of like the rows of how you'd laid the cards out on the table, and that would control everything that the game was doing. And if you did it in that order, it all worked perfectly, and all the stuff there is on the cards, so you didn't need to. We weren't referencing the rule book. It was we basically got the base rules down, and then the cards tell you exactly what to do in all the situations. Yeah. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we're going to play it again next week. So
I was going to, like you mentioned that earlier, and I remembered now. The guys who designed that are two brothers, Brady and Adam Sadler.
Oh yeah.
And they are massive Games Workshop fans as well.
Interesting. The figures were really good as well.
That's Adam's Necromunda game.
Cool.
And they do a lot of work for Fantasy Flight as well. They design a lot of games.
Yeah, that's what Paul said. But the miniatures, I mean, it came with a ton of miniatures, and some of them look really good miniatures. Actually, really, really nice for what are essentially small single. They're not multi-part at all. They're a single mold piece, miniature. They look really good.
Side sort of thing.
Yeah. Thoroughly impressed.
They are two of the hottest designers now. I think. I mean, they've done a lot of work for Fantasy Flight, and now they've got their own company. Blacklist Games, I think
Blacklist,
it's called. Yeah, and obviously Street Masters was one. I think they got a Kickstarter coming up later, either this year or early next year.
Really interesting combat system, actually.
Yeah, which is going to add more to Street Masters. They've also just had another one for Hard City, which is a sort of Miami Vice style.
Yeah.
I think it's the name, or might be a different one.
I wouldn't be surprised to use the same combat system for other things. It's very martial arty, so you kind of like, you have different attacks, which are either grapples, punches, or kicks, and then you have counters. You build up counters against those particular moves, and it was just a really cool game to play. Really looking forward to playing it again.
I'm looking forward to trying it. A friend of mine also got a massive Kickstarter copy.
Yeah.
So, but we'll have to get Nick around to come play it.
Yep.
Because I thought they looked good.
Okay, what is next up on the agenda? It's been a while. Is it hobby next?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just talk about mine, and then
mine is not very long. I've got one thing.
What is it?
So for my hobby for the past 2 months, I haven't really done a whole lot because I was getting married. But prior to getting married, and I even wrote my then fiance.
You're trying to squeeze that getting married thing into every
I know,
sentence.
man. That's a large. Yeah. My best man, he's a big board game, not really a miniatures game, and his favourite board game is Terraforming Mars, which isn't really a miniatures game, but it's got lots of little tiles and pieces. So I went onto Facebook with help from Martin, a friend of ours, and another Martin who Jason's in the BGE with and such. I got some 3D Terraforming Mars tiles made. I think I got about 80 to 90 of them made, and I painted all of them.
What I'll do is I'll put a picture of the ones I painted.
Well, no, I've got a picture of the child.
Yeah,
I'll send it over to you. You can show. I'm really pleased. I took a picture, which is one I'll send you over, of them all put together in a board shape.
Okay.
And they look really good in person singly, but when you look at them all as the whole thing, they look brilliant. I was
It's so much better
so
than
pleased with how they turned out. And he opened it up and he loved it.
Yeah.
Just utterly brilliant. He could see what all of them were.
Dano.
Yeah. Really, really pleased with them. I was really pleased that also my fiancée painted some of them because it was a present from the both of us. So, and it was quite nice. I was teaching
better
her.
than yours?
Hers were different to mine. But it was quite nice because she was joining in a part of my hobby and I was teaching her how to paint. She learned how to dry brush. It was really good. She painted all of the forests and such. I painted all of... To be honest, she had the shittier job, unfortunately, because the forests weren't very interesting to paint. They're like cones of green.
I did Martin Coverley's set.
Yeah.
And the trees...
Because his came pre-painted, didn't they?
Yeah, and they were not very
They were bobbins.
Yeah, they were really badly painted. So he asked me to refurbish them, if you like. And the trees ones, I went and did crazy thing. I went and made the tree different colours to give a representative.
That's what I did too.
And it's just like after the third...
That's what Emma did.
Yeah, after the third or fourth one, I was like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
It's so boring.
But it looks so much better in person.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... They're not the most detailed things, so a lot of
But
it
they don't
was...
need to be for what they are. Yeah.
Was base coat, and then base colour on other things, and then lots of dry brushing. And the dry... Because of the 3D printing technology, the layers have got rough texture. The dry brushing works really well on them. So yeah, really pleased with them. I'll send the picture over. But that has literally been the only thing I've painted in months.
Yeah.
But it was like 90 things.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's true. But then 90 little tiles. They do take a while, actually. I can testify.
Yeah.
I've painted a lot of stuff over the last month.
Well, it is your job.
Yeah. But focusing on some of the stuff I did that weren't commissions. Although one I wanted to mention, it was I got contacted by a guy, Matthew. He said he's been seeing my stuff on Facebook and he was getting married. Hey. I should have got you to paint them. What was I thinking? And he said his fiance, now wife, or they haven't actually got married yet, but she said yes.
What I mate?
Yeah. She's a massive fan of The Little Mermaid.
I think I saw a picture of this floating around somewhere.
So he contacted another guy to 3D print him this seashell with the Little Mermaid on top of it, and then we'd flip it open, and inside is a little note, like a engraved note, and then he wanted the ring to be in there, so it's his.
Emma's a massive fan of Little Mermaid. Why didn't I do this?
But obviously, once he had 3D printed, he needed someone to paint it. So he contacted me and he said, "Look, he wants this painted." But it's like short notice. I mean, he's proposing to her in 5 days' time. Is there any chance I can do it? And I went, you know what? Fine, I'll do it. And so I put everything on hold. He sent it to me. I spent like 24 hours non-stop just painting this goddamn area. And also, it was quite funny because it's more of a family-oriented thing. The guy who printed it couldn't print the seashell bra thing. So I got Carla to paint that on because he didn't want, obviously, the breast hanging out and stuff. So we had to paint that on and filed off the nipples and it's so weird.
That's what your job entails. Filing nipples off of tiny little mermaid miniatures.
But it came out really nice and I sent it off to him and I said, look, there's no charge. This is a wedding present for you guys.
Oh, that's really nice.
And he loved it and she said
yes.
Yeah.
So
and then he sent me pictures the other day because he put like some jewelry onto it, like that she wanted, like to represent this is a jewelry box once it's done. And she loved
that's really nice to keep her engagement ring when she's not using it and stuff.
And he sent me a message and he was very thankful. He even left me a review on my Facebook page.
Excellent.
So that was cool. But I like that. There was something
that's really nice.
Completely different. It was out of the blue, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff. What did I do for myself? I painted some more of my line rampant stuff. I finished off my mounted sergeants, which will be a picture here.
That's a game that really benefits, I think we said before, of being painted, I think.
Yes, very much. Well, all games do, really, but this one specifically so. And it looks so much better. We've got another video coming out soon for...
I think because the miniatures are quite similar on the opposing armies, if they're all the grey plastic, it's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Whereas, because it's medieval, the coats of arms and stuff are really, and the spot colours and stuff are really what make them stand out.
Yeah. And we've also tried to make our armies a little different because before, when we started this campaign, we had identical armies, like to the core.
Yeah, literally exactly the same units.
So now, with the last game we had completely different armies. In fact, like, I don't think we had one unit that might have been the same.
Oh, awesome. That's really good.
Yeah, so we've changed quite a bit. But I managed to go rummage around in my loft, which is like a treasure trove of stuff. and I found some old Celt warriors that Wargames Factory used to make. They're not the best miniatures, I got to admit. They were wank. But they were in my loft, so technically it's free.
Yeah. God knows who they belong to.
Yeah. So I brought them down and I made a unit of Fierce Foot where I painted up, like, so I've only base coated and washed them so far. But I made up a unit of 10 Fierce Foot naked barbarian type.
Nice, kind of, you've hired the picks from the north to come and help you.
Exactly, yeah. And I've played 2 games with them now and they've done shit all for those 2 games. But it was quite cool. So they're the next on the list to paint for my line ramp and stuff. And then after that, I've got my actual knights, you know, my noble knights. And then I think everything of my 24 points is painted, which will be cool. But then I've still got a couple more units that I'll paint to make the army a little bit bigger. I've also painted, I can't remember now. But at the moment, I'm working on, commission-wise, I'm working on a massive ogre army for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, which is sitting on the table in front of us. You saw some of the miniatures earlier.
Yeah, I did a Shadespire, Skaven.
Oh, they look really good. I saw the pictures for those.
I did a not Wild West Exodus. They're like Victorian bobbies and stuff like that. I did a load of those.
Painted any Star Wars Legion?
No, funny enough, I haven't. But I have done another couple of Gloomhaven sets. I tell you, man, Gloomhaven, I can do that with my eyes closed now. That's becoming my new Imperial Assault. I get I get contacted daily now of people going, "Can you paint my Gloomhaven stuff?" I had a guy contact me yesterday saying he just typed in Gloomhaven into Google
and your name came up.
Yeah. So it was like
Jason Gloomhaven Throud.
It's like, oh my god, it's so constantly Gloomhaven. But I've got a lot of other stuff there that I'm going to paint. But for myself, I want to finish more for my line rampant stuff. I played another game of Bolt Action last week, and I just remembered that I've still not done any of my vehicles, my